Dando sequência, nós teremos o painel Como a evolução regulatória do Brasil moldará novos valores, insights e tecnologias na indústria global de jogos de azar. Como nosso palestrante fala inglês, eu vou convidá-lo e anunciá-lo em inglês. Following up the panel, how will Brazil's regulatory evolution shape new values, insights and technologies in the global gambling industry? Convido para palestrar o senhor Stephen Crystal, fundador e CEO da SCCG Management. I invite to the stage Sir Stephen Crystal, founder and CEO SCCG Management. Welcome. Peço a todos a gentileza de fazer silêncio para que possamos ouvir nosso palestrante.
Okay, we're stuck with English, so I know a few words, but I know many more in English. So I'm going to rename the presentation The Tale of Two Americas, because obviously I've spent almost 35 years evolving the gambling industry out of Las Vegas in the USA. I first came to Brazil in 2017 and started following the progress. And now, as we sit on the precipice of hundreds of brands launching here in a regulated environment, I was thinking about the comparison between my experience over 3 decades in America and what's about to unfold in Brazil. And I came to the conclusion that the opportunity in Brazil is actually greater than what I've experienced in 3 decades in America, in North America. And the reason it's greater is because at the same time, hundreds of brands will launch, and what we will see is, in this unique environment, is innovation, companies trying to differentiate themselves in a competitive market, unlike we've seen in any market in the world. So what I'm expecting to see in Brazil over hopefully the decades to come, at least some of them, is a track record that will end up instructing the rest of the world who for decades have enjoyed what you're about to enjoy in the coming years. So I remember my journey started in 1992. And at that time, in America, in 1992, you had gambling in 2 jurisdictions. You had it in Las Vegas or Nevada, and you had it in Atlantic City, New Jersey. It took 3 decades, state by state, referendum by referendum, political debate by political debate. Think about taking the political debate you've just been through here in Brazil and multiplying that by 1,000, playing out day by day, year by year, stakeholder by stakeholder. It was quite a journey, and we didn't have the advantage of being able to coalesce around an agenda of innovation. We had to kind of slog through the gradual growth of an industry where you didn't have hundreds of players starting out bringing the best technology to the table. We were dealing with building riverboats. We were converting racetracks into slot houses. We were going on to Indian reservations, indigenous people who had the right to build casinos. And then it was only in the last 6 years that we finally approved some type of online gaming, and even at that, we approved it in just a few states that had online casino, and the rest had some form of online sports betting or sports betting in a retail facility. So even at that, we didn't have the opportunity that Brazil has and is going to be upon them. In fact, when we started in 2018, the journey that you're about to begin in the fall, hopefully, we had close to 150 operators start in a country that's bigger, I guess, slightly bigger than Brazil. And now we have less than maybe 15 operators who are sitting at the table as more states look to approve online gaming. So from 150 to 15 or less. And the reason for that is we didn't have a federal legislation that said this is approved on day one. The opportunity here, in terms of what you're facing, is that hundreds, whether it be lottery operators or it be folks that are operating online sports or online casino, will start. They will start with very sophisticated technology. They will start in a competitive environment. Brazil is next to the U.S., the next largest country, excluding Asia, that will have online gaming. You have a very interesting and distinct culture here that really favors the connecting with the customers. Brazil, from my perspective, is a very social place. It's a very community-oriented place. It's a place where there's an opportunity to use technology to connect with groups of people around the entertainment value that gaming will bring, in order to get them to be loyal to a particular platform. There will be opportunities to provide differentiation. And so as I look at the tale of two Americas, even though I've enjoyed 30 years in America and done lots of things related to building casinos and operating casinos and taking sports books online and launching platforms and launching technology, I've decided the last 6 months I've been here in Brazil. So I want to spend what's left of been a very productive career here. I want to spend it here because I'm going to see things happen here at a pace that I have not seen over 30 years in America. So when I look at the tale of two Americas, in this case, this America is going to be the winner. And I'm already starting to see that play out as I see the regulations come forward. One of the first things they said is, we're not going to allow crypto. Let's use that as an example. Or they've said, we're not going to allow free play or bonuses. These are things that have really hurt. As I look at my America, where I'm a citizen, it's really hurt that market because the companies with the deepest pockets, not necessarily the best technology, not necessarily with the best practices, but the companies with the deepest pockets could throw money at it and put the companies that maybe were bringing more innovation to the market out of business. So we went from 150 plus down to really less than 10. Now, some of the decisions that are being made here maybe are being made for different reasons, different political considerations, but the end result is it's going to create an environment that will allow more companies, more technology, more innovation to flourish. And that's a fantastic opportunity. And then when you layer that onto a culture as unique as Brazil, one as proud as Brazil, whether it be a love of sports, whether it be your influence in terms of exporting that proficiency in sport around the world. You're not just a player within your own country, you're a player globally. You're a player when it comes to technology and innovation. Someone was remarking to me some of the biggest companies in the world based in Brazil. So this is a company that has a very proud history, has a proud history of accomplishment. And so when we apply that to the industry that I've dedicated my life to, and I look at the opportunity in front of us, I just see tremendous excitement. So if there's not any other message that I could convey, you're very fortunate. If you're a Brazilian to be and you're part of this industry, you're very fortunate as someone who's dedicated so much time and is maybe relatively speaking at the tail end of contributing to the industry. So one of the things I look at beyond just the cultural fabric and some of the unique features in Brazil, I talk about I'm looking at kind of the projected growth in the market. By the way, I would use this, but I seem to have already screwed up the, I don't even know how to get back to the slide. So it's a short presentation, but if it's okay, I'm just going to talk and then open it up to questions. Sorry. I have this if anyone's interested in it. Your projected market is expected to reach $2.6 billion in 2026. If you need to know anything, you should know that the top companies in America, MGM and DraftKings, who lead that market, they've been talking publicly about the fact that they want to come to Brazil. You have plenty of amazing brands that are Brazilian-born. You have brands that are coming from Europe, which has been doing online gaming for decades. You have brands from the US who have distinguished themselves in that market. So the best in the world is coming to Brazil because they see the same opportunity. We're already seeing some, I think, good decisions. I referred to the fact that on payment methods, they're going to start more narrowly in order to get their arms around issues like know your customer and anti-money laundering. So there's a cautious approach to start. Even though if you look at your payments and other things that you do throughout your economy in Brazil is extremely progressive. And we look at some of the innovation that's occurred globally, it's come from Brazil. So I do think some of that will end up in the regulations that in online gaming, but I think there's a cautious approach, which I actually applaud. There is, restrictions I mentioned on, bonuses and free play. Why? Because these are things that could contribute to bad habits. I mean, it's a form of entertainment, but we want to be responsible. This is a theme around the world, and I think it's already, by taking a stand that way, you're setting a precedent that you want people to engage, but you want it to be responsible in terms of how they engage. And that's a leadership position you're taking that I think will lead to technology innovations to make sure these policies are carried through. I noticed, by the way, in the bill, and I've really applauded this, that there's a local ownership requirement that 20% of gambling companies must be owned by a Brazilian shareholder, and only Brazil-based operators can offer betting. For Brazil, by Brazil, this is a good thing. So if you're a company, even like myself, who's spent decades in North America, when I come to Brazil, I am enjoying the process of working with Brazilians to understand this market and bring all the experience that I've had here, but do it through the lens of your experience, which is distinct and different. So I think the legislation kind of codifies that and makes it a policy that is the right policy. Compliance policies, self-exclusion. This is a norm around the world that people who have a problem should be able to exclude themselves from it so as not to make the problem worse. That's a very good policy choice in my view. Using age verification and KYC methodologies, that is an appropriate way to regulate, to encourage investment in this industry, in this country. We talk about the role that you could play in the world. In my company, in the US and in markets, other LATAM markets, Europe, we work with hundreds of technology companies, small and big, who exist to provide tools in order to appeal to customers, to retain customers, to give customers a better experience, to give them more value, to know your customer, to kind of localize that experience. I know this from being here. when I go to Sao Paulo and then I go to Rio, I took that bus. 1 week I took it 4 times back and forth, and I never had a better sleep. It was actually the best sleep I've had in years, was sleeping on that bus. But I know that when I was in Rio, they had one viewpoint, and when I was in Sao Paulo, they had another viewpoint. I understood there was a difference, even though to me, I love them both. And I know this is a large country. I haven't seen every bit of it, and I hope to. But it is very diverse. And I think using technology to understand those differences, we're going to see that play out. If you're in the US and you go from 150 operators to 10, what's the incentive? What incentive do you have to do all these things? You don't have the same incentive as when you have hundreds of operators who are trying to slice and dice and understand what the consumer wants for this type of entertainment in a responsible way. And so I'm looking to take the hundreds of companies that innovate around the world and see how we can apply that experience here. How can we work with local Brazilian companies who maybe develop technology for the financial sector or developed it for another type of entertainment sector, and how can we apply that? I've been working lately with a lot of AI companies. How do we use AI responsibly in order to make our customer service more efficient? These are some examples, and the truth is I see a lot of partnerships that are going to be forming between people who have long-standing knowledge in the gambling industry and companies in Brazil that have a lot of technology experience and want to apply it to this industry. I guess I'll just wrap it up and then open it up for questions to the extent that, as you know, we're sitting here, we're weeks, months, obviously we all wait every time there's a release of regulations and reading the tea leaves. It's fair to say that I will tell you what people say around the world, because I travel around the world. We work with companies all over the world. What people say around the world is you've done a great job of getting to where you are now. That the process has resulted in legislation that will attract investment. All you have to do is be in this show. I was here last year. I was here when it was just BIS, and it was in one room. Look at the growth. Look at the quality of companies. This is G2E, which is our big show in Vegas, 60,000 people every year. It doesn't have the same energy as the show here. I actually look forward to this. So I think what you're seeing is you've created an environment to attract investment, innovation, collaboration. And so I guess the message to leave, I know there's a lot of issues. I won't even get into some of the more controversial ones like bicheros, and because I know there's a long history, and it's not as simple as simply saying, okay, we're launching. There's issues to be worked out. I remember coming to Las Vegas, and they were dealing with issues there. It's not like Brazil's unique in that regard. Cultures change, technology changes, and we have to deal with that. So I think there are still issues to be dealt with down the way. There's going to be bumps on the road. There's going to be ups and downs for sure. But I think what the rest of the world is saying, for what it's worth, is that you're doing it right, such that people feel comfortable. Some of the most successful companies in the industry worldwide feel comfortable coming to do business here. And to me, that's a good thing. So I guess I'll leave it at that and can answer questions on anything.
Hello, My question is, how do you believe Brazil's regulatory evolution will shape new values and insights in the industry of betting? And what important insights can we derive for this process?
Yeah, I think that what we're going to see, there's a couple of factors here. One I mentioned is the fact that because there's an even playing field on day one, because there are many companies that will try to establish their connection with their customers, we're going to see a lot of innovation immediately in terms of how people want to connect with their customers and compete in this marketplace. We haven't had that opportunity that I can think of ever in the gambling industry as I know it. It's always been more incremental. It's always been a gradual process. Here, you're going, after 70 years of no gambling, you're going full-fledged into full-scale gambling online using the latest and greatest technology. That's beyond going from 0 to 60. That's going all the way. And the way you're doing it in a responsible way means people are going to focus on that technology, that connection. I think you're going to see innovation in particular in how we use social layers. We've already had some missteps in terms of social influencers, but you know what? We have those missteps in other markets too. So it's just the culture we live in. We live in a much more open content-on-demand society with different channels to reach people. They're not going to go away, so we have to deal with them responsibly. But I think you're going to see immediately technology and approaches and analytics and use of emerging technologies like AI in ways that you don't see anywhere else in the world. So there will be firsts. Every day, every week, every month, there'll be a first. First time this has been done. This is what I think will come from Brazil.
Thank you. My question is about advertisement, and all the marketing regulations. I believe we have seen a bigger effort on the business regulation, but the advertisement regulation is still a bit, it's not like catching up, I guess. And what's the role, what would it play for the ecosystem or for the entire business to have a good advertisement regulation?
I think if I'm looking at it, it's an excellent question, and it's one that has been addressed differently in different markets. For example, if we look at America, in America, you have some of the most liberal policies around advertising in general, compared to, let's say, Europe. It used to be in the beginning that Europe was very permissive, and because of abuses, and I could go through them, everything from advertising that's inappropriate because of the imagery or the audience that it could reach, to even things as basic as putting the name of a sports betting company on a jersey that a soccer or football player is wearing. Obviously, that debate's going to be resolved here too. They ended up deciding to ban it in the UK for the Premier League starting in 2025, as an example. In the US, the US has a history of more self-regulation. Businesses enjoy a lot of freedom, but they have to use it responsibly. And so, but I think even in the US, the feeling is over time, regulators will have to step in and put more limits when it comes to gambling. And so if you look at the Europe example, or you even look at North America, the handwriting is on the wall that eventually there will be more and more limits on how we allow people to advertise, because people abuse their right. And this is what I expect will happen over time. Some of it may happen right out of the gate, but certainly over time, I don't think Brazil will be different than America, will be different than Europe. I think in general, people, regulators and politicians and policy folks, they want to see some limitation on how we advertise gambling. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the content. Take our time.